Welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. My goodness, it's a tad chilly out there, gang. From wherever you're hailing from in Missouri or elsewhere, let us know your temperatures. My goodness, it's 7:33 p.m. It's January 13th. It's 2024. And your national debt stands at $34.032 trillion, everyone. Yay. We got some 5x5s going on in YouTube land, as well as, let's see, in Rumble. Nothing in Odyssey. Yeah, it's a cold one, gang. You know what? I really, truly hope everyone took down their man-made global warming decorations and put up their man-made climate decorations before the cold came, because it's downright cold out there, man. I meant to go out there and put up your man-made climate change decorations right now. It would be pretty uncomfortable.
-1 over here.
-1. I'm about ready to check mine right now.
Expecting -10 tonight.
15 here and expecting -1.
-7, expecting -21.
Guys, you know why we're listening to Kokomo? Because it's 10 degrees down here. That's right, 10 degrees. Let's see.
A whole 10 degrees.
Yeah, let's see. The real feel is 4 degrees with the wind. Let me take a closer look here. Looks like we're getting to -6 tonight. Nearly the coldest it's been since I moved down to Missouri back in 1996. -9 is the coldest temperature we've ever gotten since we've been down here. And I believe that was winter of 2011.
I know the real feel over here is -20.
Wow. Okay,
Yep.
we got Doug calling in, so hang on one second. Hey, it's Doug. Can you hear me okay, buddy?
Yes, I can.
Okay, gotcha. I figured that the internet connection went wonky on you.
Yeah, it kicked me out twice in a row.
I'm sorry. Don't take it personally. Or maybe you can take it personally, too. Go ahead.
Sacrificing the lamb only goes so far.
Yes.
I guess I should have done too.
Yep. Well, hindsight is 20/20, isn't it, gang?
Yes, it is.
And what's really truly disturbing, basically is this man-made global climate change we're all experiencing right now. It's downright cold. We have to do something to warm up the planet, gang. I don't know if we could do that with state I'm teasing, by the way. I'm teasing. I didn't want to play.
I guess
into
I
that
could go
for too
light
long.
some tire fires.
Yeah, tire fires. Basically just rip off those catalytic converters. We need the platinum anyway. So there's lots of
y'all
things.
have catalytic converters?
Some of us do, apparently. So I'm somewhat handicapped tonight because I have one monitor down in the as it is the Missouri Freedom Initiative production studio. But I will manage. So I apologize if things are a little bit more clunky than normal, as if they could get more clunky on our live streams. But I thought that I would talk a little bit about, first of all, what happened on Wednesday first, and then we're going to get into bill titles. So, in fact, we have 3 people on right now that were up in Jeff City on Wednesday. So we have Doug with us, Doug and Maya, actually, so 4. Doug and Maya, we had Caleb, and then myself out of the people that are on right now that were up in Jeff City. And we did, it wasn't really a knock and shock operation, as most people know who were up there. a lot of flyers got slid under the doors. And that's because the doors were closed and locked. A lot of people weren't in. And that's not a really good time to do knock and shock, unfortunately. They just closed it up and did a technical day for some reason. There were a lot of reps there, to be sure, but I would say at least a third of them were gone, at least, if not more. In fact, probably approaching half. But be it all the same, we had some important meetings. We got some important stuff done. Retha had her meeting with the auditor, and she's going to report on that tomorrow night on Sam's show. Sam has on his first hour, and by the way, I need to promote Sam because he's got Senator Koenig coming on his show, who is running for treasurer of the state. And I think it's very important that people listen to what the senator has to say, because he's the only guy running for treasurer that wants a gold and silver depository in the state of Missouri. So he's the only guy running for treasurer that wants that. In fact, he even wants to look into minting options, minting official Missouri specie. So at any rate, so please, if you have a chance, listen to the show that's off the cuff on Missouri Liberty Radio tomorrow night, molibertyradio.us. And he's down in our partner list. He's always there on every single description of every video we do. So please do check that out tomorrow night. I will not be on tomorrow night. Actually, I got a thing I got to take care of. And I think I wrote about it in my email. I had a previous commitment with the Talk Junkies. But Retha will definitely be on the show talking about what happened in the meeting on Wednesday night after the Capitol was over. Retha and I went to Swiss, Missouri. That's right, Swiss. And, yeah, they don't make cheese there, believe it or not. That was my first question when I was there, but apparently it was a terrible misunderstanding. But we went ahead and held the seminar anyway, and it was great. Cheryl put together one heck of a great crew to come and listen to Retha speak. And once again, I'm not going to get too much into that, but that's exactly what happened at the meeting. Retha had a terrific audience, very engaged, asked extremely intelligent questions, understood the subject matter and the material, because there were, not just smart people in the audience, but a lot of business owners in the audience were kind of curious how the schools were doing their finances. Retha was able to show them the data, and she had printouts that she handed out to everyone too, that are not easily found. This is DESI stuff and other stuff that may not be very easily found. So that went well. And I think on top of all that, I think the meeting itself kind of gave us a lot of hope that there's a lot of people out there that are really getting pissed off with these schools continuing to get more and more and complaining that they don't have enough, despite the fact we see what they're doing with their finances. They never ever show their constituents, and I'm talking about board members, when they go for a vote on the ballot for more money for the school, another bond, they never tell you exactly where the school is financially. Never. They don't want you to know. It's not your business anyway. I know that you guys are paying for it and everything, but apparently that just isn't your business, because they make that information so hard to get. They mix it up. They put it in different places all over the web, so you have to go find the puzzle pieces to put together the puzzle. And that's one of the issues we've always had with school finance. Of course, they want you to think, well, it's too complicated for the average person to understand. As Retha will tell you, she has a degree in doing math, and it's called fourth grade. This is simple addition, subtraction, in some cases division and multiplication. That's all it is. You don't need you don't need to go to college for 6 years to understand what these schools are doing with their finances. That's my point. I don't want to belabor it at this point, but it was a great meeting. Cheryl is to be commended. Cheryl Bowles up in the Owensville area actually whipped together this meeting, and she had incredibly great people come by, people that really needed to hear it. These are big people in the community. We had a county commissioner there. I even forget, we had all kinds of elected officials in there to come and listen to Retha speak about how the schools are doing their finance. And it was particular to Owensville and to Herman, or Gasconade R1 and Gasconade R2. So that's how they're listed in DESI. but people more familiar with the area would refer to it as the Owensville School District and the Herman School District. Okay, so like I said, enough about that, because Retha's going to cover all that with Sam tomorrow night on his show, and that'll be in the second and third hours. First hour, starting at 6 p.m. Central, is Andrew Koenig, and then after that, Duncan is co-hosting with Sam tomorrow night, by the way, and so they'll talk to Andrew and get all the delicious details of what he wants to do with silver and gold in the state of Missouri, I'm sure, along with other things. And then after that, Retha and Duncan and Sam, who all three were at the meeting, will be talking about what happened in the meeting. Okay. All right. Without further ado, let me get back to my browser. Hopefully I don't mess anything up here. And I am going to bring up some tabs. So I can hopefully get some data going. Okay, before we start getting into bill titles, let's like I mentioned, 4 people that were up at the Capitol on Wednesday are in with us right now, and so I at this point want to open it up. If you guys want to talk about any of the experiences we had up there, we had a real good meeting with Representative Hardwick and a few others as well. But basically, we went around to go get co-sponsors. And a lot of these flyers that were printed off, just like I said, just got shoved underneath the doors because there were a lot of no-shows in the Capitol. So anything you guys want to add to that from being up there at the Capitol on Wednesday? Anyone?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay, my stuff keeps cutting in and out here. I don't know if it's an internet problem or if it's a gilded problem, but it's giving me trouble.
Okay, gotcha.
Overall, I think it went pretty well. I'd say we probably got some good intel from a couple. Oh, it's cutting out on me again. From Hardwick and whatnot, but it was surprisingly productive for how few representatives actually showed up, and for how small of a group we had.
Yep. So yeah, we did get a lot of stuff done, and that's a good point too. Is that the intel we got? Let's talk about that for a second, because we heard it from several reps. It's not even necessary to bring up names. There were so many reps that told us this. That Dean Plocher apparently is still angry with Doug Ritchie for recommending that he step down as the Speaker of the House after his third scandal. And so 2 scandals had already passed. The first scandal was broken by Missouri First, and that was that Dean Plocher was taking PAC money from the Missouri Realtors Association in order to stop concurrent majority from going through on the floor, for even having discussion and debate on the floor. That was scandal number 1. Scandal number 2 was the whole thing with Fireside Software. I'm sure you guys remember that pretty well. Scandal number 3, and once again, these all happened in quick succession. Ron came out with his at the end of August, beginning of September, middle of September was Fireside, and then it was in the beginning of October as the stuff came out on the financials, and that was the third scandal where Dean Plocher was apparently double dipping. He was taking expenses and expensing them not only to the Missouri House but also to his campaign. So he's getting paid back twice for expenses having to do with his role as Speaker. And so at any rate, he got caught. He did return all the money. Go ahead.
There was also somewhat of a fourth scandal that was kind of aired but never really covered, and that was
the liquor
that was him
cabinet.
turning the next office over into one massive liquor cabinet.
Yep. So yeah, Dean Plocher has a liquor cabinet next door to him now. Giant. That used to be an office for a rep, but that rep got kicked out, and then they turned it into a giant liquor cabinet filled with beer, wine, and hard alcohol. And I'm sure that it's well stocked. It's a well stocked lauder, and good for Dean for that. Go ahead.
What was the taxpayer cost on that? $60,000.
Something like about $60,000 total. But
Yeah,
some of that was furniture.
60,000.
Yep. Some of that was furniture. I believe he paid something. Was it something outrageous like $100 for a wastebasket or something like that? I don't remember.
That's government spending for you.
Yeah, that is. So I'm sure it was a government wastebasket plus probably a bottle of some kind of, wine, some kind of expensive wine or something. Guys, I'm not much of an alcohol connoisseur, so I'm not going to pretend to be, but I was going to make up some kind of wine. But then people would know that, I had no idea what I was talking about. But
Oh, it's probably some either some old wine from the 200-year-old wine, or a combination with that and some really specific year of a fine whiskey.
okay, fair enough.
Just 2 bottles.
Okay. Well, that being the case, just so everyone knows, the third one is where Doug Ritchie decided it was time to speak up. We spoke up after the third one, too, by the way, the Missouri Freedom Initiative, and others did, too. Jody Grace's group, I believe Informed Health Choice Missouri did something. Freedom Principle Missouri did something. Lots, like, for instance, Maisie Christensen even recommended him to step down as speaker. In fact, we went a little bit further with the Missouri Freedom Initiative. We thought it'd be a better idea if he just kind of, left the seat empty altogether, and just, literally stopped participating in the House. There's too much corruption there, and he's part of that. But our view was seen as somewhat extreme by some people, but also so was his corruption seen by us as extreme, especially when it came to the expense reports. 9 instances he double dipped. And so that wasn't a single one-time mistake, which is common, actually, but 9 times in 5 years, I guess. So at any rate, Doug Ritchie did ask for him to, or publicly on Twitter, asked for him to resign the speakership. And I guess people who did that are not going to get any of their legislation referred to committee this year. So at any rate, and also their committees that they are chairs of are going to get very, very light work this year. So the people who had committees that did not ask for deans stepping down from, the speakership, or, for the seat in general from District to 89, I can only imagine they're going to get a lot more work, a lot more stuff done. So that's kind of the feel we get from visiting the Capitol, believe it or not. And it may sound like that we're trying to make light of it or, make a joke out of it. I assure you we're not. This is actually what we've been hearing in the Capitol.
Yep.
And
yeah, effectively, they've been anybody who called for him to step down has been blacklisted.
That's what it sounds like for sure. So it is what it is, gang. We go forward anyway. And so what we originally asked for last week was for basically people to ask for this to go into Doug Ritchie's committee. Now, that was the Special Committee on Government Accountability. Since it's looking like it can't go there, we're now asking for this to go into, I can't remember the chair's
Emerging
name.
issues?
Nope, we're not going into emerging issues. Let's see, we want to go into government efficiency and downsizing. Government efficiency and downsizing is where we're asking this to go. So this is what I'm going to do tonight. I'm actually going to call up and leave a message on voicemail with my rep, basically thanking him once again for co-sponsoring. We've got 21 co-sponsors, gang, but nowhere near enough. If your rep has not actually co-sponsored and you have been asking them to, please pass that information on to the Missouri Freedom Initiative, patrick@mofree.org. patrick@mofree.org. Please let me know so I can make a phone call to them. I think that's very important that we continue getting as many co-sponsors as humanly possible and as quickly as possible. We don't know when or if this is going to get referred, but I do want to remind you of something we did on Wednesday, which is testify to Senator Bill Eigel's version of the Silver and Gold bill. That's SB 735. His bill is moving like a bullet again through the Senate. It's moving very quickly. But of course, what happens when it gets done in the Senate gets voted out of the Senate. By the way, it'll be next week. They'll have a hearing on it. They'll have a vote on it, an executive session, and they'll determine whether or not they're going to turn it over to the calendar. And if you guys remember, that didn't last too long last year before it got on the floor. And then once it got on the floor and it got, debated and perfected, it came back a week later, voted out, and then it sat for 6 weeks in purgatory, in legislative purgatory, in the House, waiting for a home in a committee. That's the Plocher rules, H.R. 11. Senate bills have to wait until the end of spring break before they get referred to committees. That absolutely ensures omnibus Christmas tree bills at the end of every year. This has got to change. We'll talk more about that in a little bit with titles as well. But there are certain things that literally we're just set up for failure in the state of Missouri. And it's because of people like Plocher, and we'll go into Patterson, we'll go into Caleb Rowden, and I'm not so sure that we need to go into the floor leader of the Senate. I'm not 100% sure we need to go there at this point, but there are a few things we should talk about with her. So, okay, so and Doug, Maya, did you guys want to add anything? And by the way, Doug, thank you very much. Doug also testified on behalf of Senator Eigel's SB 735, the Constitutional Money Act. So thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Yep. Anything you guys want to add from being there on Wednesday?
Not really. I mean, we pretty much all stuck together, so we pretty much all saw the same things. Yep. And heard the same things.
Yep.
That was pretty well covered it.
Okay.
I don't remember all of the names of the reps that we did talk to, but I know we did have that one good discussion as well with that one gentleman next to Patterson's office. And I don't know, there were several people. It felt really positive, for the ones who were there.
Sure.
Willing to discuss, things like that. Let's see what else. We were very excited to meet Misty finally,
yep.
Which that was exciting. She was very nice, and she made sure that we were able to go, up to the lookout tower on top of the dome, which was exciting. It's kind of off topic, but it was exciting because we've been going to the Capitol all of last year, and we've never been able to go see that. So we'd like to give a shout out to her for thanking her for helping us with that, and the young man named Nicholas who took us to the top. So that was exciting as well.
Gotcha. And Misty, I got to say, we just absolutely love you. Thank you very much. She's with us tonight. I see her commenting on YouTube. So we did see Misty up there as well, which was an absolute pleasure. And she is always so nice to us and so helpful to us every time we go up to Jeff City. So we're very appreciative of that. Let's see. I'm going to see if there's anything here. Moon has introduced a bill to outlaw chemtrails. Misty, I just heard about that, and I've got to look into it because that's of personal interest to me. And hello to Kali Singh, who is joining us tonight on YouTube as well. Okay, and all right, I'm just kind of checking all of our the chat here and see if there was anything relevant that we need to bring up.
Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
One thing that I was thinking about that when we were walking around is that I cannot wait so that all the bills for the Constitutional Money Act will pass, because I would like to see all those reps booted out of the safes. I think that would be a nice thing to fill them up with some gold and silver.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, maybe we could do something like that.
Yeah.
And then other people were actually concerned, downright concerned, because Justin Sparks' office is actually in the official safe vault for the Capitol. That's where his office is. So, of course, the extra office was used for a booze closet or liquor cabinet or whatever you want to call it. winery, whatever. And so, so at any rate, if we start collecting gold and silver at the Capitol, we're going to have to put one of those homeless tents out in the middle of the hallway for Justin Sparks to have his office in, I think. So we can, yeah, I know, poor Justin. I mean, he's such a nice guy, too. I hate, what's that?
They'll start looking like San Francisco if we're not careful.
Yeah, I know, right in the halls of our own Capitol, too. You know, but I promise you guys, if I see any legislation that it's okay to defecate in the Capitol anywhere you want, I will fight it. All right. So we're not going to let it go that far. But since we've run out of office space, apparently, and Plocher needs that liquor cabinet, apparently, if we get gold and silver in Missouri and we start storing some, you know, Justin, you know, can we trust him with all that gold and silver in his office? Or, you know, should we, you know, get him a really nice tent he can have somewhere, you know, in the hallway of the Capitol? It's something I think lawmakers will have to decide.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Can we boot Plocher out of his office and just put him in the lavatory?
You know what? That's something that we should look into.
Yeah, and then Justin can get his office or something, but we could just boot him out. And then right there, if we booted him out, we'd have two offices if we turned the liquor area into another room. So we'd have two rooms available, and then Plocher goes to the lavatory.
Yeah, you know, and all we got to do is get the caucus to agree. And you know, that may not be too difficult at this point. You know, 4 scandals in, maybe they're ready to send Plocher to the bathroom. You know,
I don't know. You know what? You know what though? Here's another idea. So I know Plocher is an option, but what about I don't know. We shove him in with like a Peter Meredith. Stick him in the same room.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I think Peter Meredith will do most of the talking in that situation. That's just my guess. But maybe I've misjudged Plocher. Maybe he can talk just as much as Peter Meredith can, and as much BS as Peter Meredith can. I don't know. So you be the judge. Our lines are open. Let us know in the comments section. Should we get something going on in the Capitol where we get Peter Meredith and Dean Plocher to be bosom buddies, you know, basically roommates, taking up one of the restrooms, and that would be on the 3rd. Would that be the 3rd floor? I think that's where Plocher's office is. And, well, actually, you know what?
Yeah, 3rd floor.
Yeah. If we just get rid of that liquor cabinet, doesn't that solve all the problems as opposed to going to the General Assembly and caucusing and actually asking for him to be removed into a bathroom?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Okay.
I mean,
you don't have to take up the whole bathroom. Just stick them into the end stall.
Yeah, he could just take a single stall. You know, be like, you know, kind of like a work cubicle kind of thing situation going on there.
Here's a compromise.
All
The
right.
throne will actually become a throne.
It will.
I have a compromise that might be kind of fun.
Okay.
So there's 2 vaults in that Capitol.
All right.
One in each wing.
Okay.
Okay, so what if we use both vaults? We kick Justin out of his office, but for the liquor cabinet and the gold storage, we could just fill both vaults with Goldschlager.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I have to
It has
say,
actual gold in it. It has actual gold in it.
you know what, though? Caleb, I'm not trying to take away from your excellent idea. But the fact of the matter is, Misty says Representative Sparks, his office is very cool. He can be trusted, by the way, with the silver and gold. He is former law enforcement and a good man. So, you know,
All right.
so we could probably do that. But I don't know. I mean, asking, you know, for Plocher to, you know, to actually, you know, pull up chalks in that beautiful office he has with that huge conference room. He's got like a bat elevator and a bat fire. Was it a fire pole? He gets to escape that office without being seen by anybody. He's got secret entrances and exits and all kind of stuff going on there. And I'm sure he's got direct access to the liquor room as well, which is next door. So let's see. Hang on. Misty says the Democrat Representative Unsicker has been kicked out of her office and is now across the hall from the Democrats in a tiny office by herself. let's see, putting out a press release wanting to look into. Let's see. That's interesting. I didn't know about that. Unsicker, by the way, for those of you who don't know the story, there's a Democrat representative. Then we'll get into our title stuff. Democrat Representative Sarah Unsicker apparently met with someone who has, in her district, that has been identified as a white supremacist. And because of that, she has been a pariah in the Democrat Party. She has been kicked out of every committee she's been in. She has been kicked out of her office, apparently, and put into a teeny tiny little crammed office, basically for talking to one of her constituents, because that constituent somehow has been identified as a white supremacist. Whether that's true or not is irrelevant at this point. What the Democrat Party has basically told Sarah Unsicker is, you don't have the right to free speech unless we say you do. Now, I'm sure others, will disagree or even agree with me. I mean, my assessment is leave Unsicker alone. She has freedom of speech. She has that right as an American citizen. She has the right to speak freely with anyone. She has the right of association. She has the right to privacy. But I do know that she did put up on Twitter that she had met with this person, and that's when the hailstorm began against her. So as much as I'm not a big fan of how the Democrats conduct themselves, I'm not a big fan of how some Republicans conduct themselves on the floor either, but I think this whole thing with Sarah Unsicker is terrible, and it reflects badly on Democratic leadership right here in Jeff City. And that's my take on that. So, Misty, thanks for bringing that up. I didn't know that she was kicked out of her office. That's terrible. Okay. All right. Well, that being said, I want to move on to titles real quick here. As I'm having a hard time because I'm down to one monitor for right now. I'll have that fixed before next week. But there was an omnibus bill passed in 2022 in Jefferson City, and it was just recently in December struck down by the Missouri Supreme Court. And it wasn't because the bills were bad or necessarily that the bills were unconstitutional, which I actually would almost bet money they were, but they went after the title. Now, I could tell stories, like anyone who's been up to the Capitol a lot, you can start telling stories about, people you talk to up there, but it's probably best not to, at least by name. But I would very much like to tell you about a meeting that I had with a representative up in Jefferson City during the 2023 year. And I'm not going to name names, but what this representative said when I brought up title problems because of what was happening to SB 100. That's the reason the meeting happened. And this representative was unconcerned with the title change, going away from silver and gold. And for two reasons. Number one, if it keeps a title that is a single subject, it's very, very difficult to put amendments on it. The number two reason is, of course, it can't participate in an omnibus. So, and I'm talking about a Christmas tree. We're talking about, 30 bills tacked onto one bill, basically is what they did, basically in 2022. They did that in 2023 as well. And it's likely that, very few single bills got out. But here's what he said. This is what he told me directly. He says, judges don't care. And I said, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. They have to care. It's the Constitution. And he says, they don't care. He says, I'm an attorney, and I'm telling you, judges don't care about the titling issues with bills. Well, this attorney, who happens to be a rep, would be surprised to find out that apparently the court did, in fact, care about what was going on. They cared enough to strike down this bill, and it had a bunch of stuff in it. In fact, no story that I found, I've got to look it up, but this was a law that threatened homeless people with jail time for sleeping on state land, on public land. Of course, there'd be nothing wrong with going to sleep on private property, but if you want to go on state land, you know, you got another thing coming, homeless person.
Keep in mind too, that law was so vague that not only did it, like, say like homeless, but like if you go have you're on a trail and you pitch a tent for the night because you can't keep moving, guess what?
Yep. And I feel for anyone who is homeless during this weather, because this is bitingly cold. I was looking at Montana and North Dakota, and they were having -70 in some areas, -70 degrees. By the way, that's the mean temperature of the planet Mars, by the way, for those of you who are interested. Of course, the pressure is different and the humidity factors are different, but that is the temperature, mean temperature. If you take the entire planet into account, that is the mean temperature of the planet Mars, which is an additional 45 million miles away from the sun than we are. Okay, going back to our story here, this is something I want to talk about because we saw this happen with SB 100. Not that I want to go into all the incidences out there, and I want to talk about the people who have been screaming about this for a long time. The fact that there was a bill in the Senate to actually cure the problem that wasn't allowed because only 7 people voted for constitutionality with passing bills in the Senate. You guys need to pay attention to this stuff when it happens. But I do want to say that Senator Eigel actually had a bill on the floor that was being debated on the Senate floor, and it was about keeping single subject titles and stop this nonsense with changing titles for bills going through the legislative process in Missouri. Because the more they change the title, the broader the title is, and the more crap they can stick onto it because it actually fits the new title. I'm waiting for a title for a bill to go through like the House, and the title of the bill is Stuff in Missouri. I mean, that's how bad it's getting. So, I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, us constitutional nerds will laugh at that joke, but I think most people who don't follow legislation don't know how bad this problem is, and that's exactly how we get pork, and we get our freedoms taken away, is through these omnibus Christmas tree bills. It doesn't matter if it's in D.C. or if it's in Missouri. But we're concerned with it in Missouri. There's nothing we can do about D.C. They're a lost cause anyway. It's best just to pretend they don't exist because actually, honestly, they really don't. It's D.C. doesn't apply to us anymore. It just doesn't. I mean, they're just nuts out there. Go ahead.
I was going to throw in there too that same bill that he filed for that regarding the titles also contained, a requirement of giving, 48 hours to actually read the bill and
that's
understand it before, because Rowden on the floor admitted that he just votes on bills without reading them.
He did indeed. And I wrote about that in the newsletter, and I want to say up front again, I appreciate Caleb Rowden's honesty on this because he was being honest. That's a fact. And you know why we know he was being honest? Because he doesn't allow for enough time. Neither does the speaker, the floor leader of the Senate, allow for enough time when you have these omnibus bills going through to read everything. Now, guys, let me paint a picture for you, a mental picture for you. Because here's what happened with SB 100, and this is often how it happens. When you have a very, very popular bill, the title starts getting whittled away into something very generic. So let's say the title of the bill was Gold and Silver, which it was. That was in the title. And then it became, oh, dear God, I can't remember. The final one was means of exchange. But there was one for Rick Bratton's amendment. That happened in the Senate. It went from gold and silver to
mediums of exchange.
No, mediums of exchange was the last one to allow for crypto.
Okay.
So it went through. You could go ahead and look it up for me, and I'll tell the story. So it went through title changes, but each time it became so broad when those of us were actually there for the day that SB 100 was on the House floor with that wide open title of means of exchange. If you looked on the board, I believe there were 11 amendments they intended to put on SB 100. And one of them was a banker bill. Another one was the state trade bill, or I can't remember what they called it. It was HB 1165. That was the one that was bringing the digital dollar.
The Universal Commercial Code bill.
Yep, that's right. Yep, the commercial code bill for state trade, and not only state trade, but means of payment systems in between states using what they called a digital currency. They didn't name it. They just said a digital currency. So this is the kind of stuff we could see. And we saw it happen in real time to SB 100. SB 100 got molested on the floor of the House. It actually, and even before it was on the floor, with that crypto language. So it was, literally the day after the hearing, in the House, when amendments started going on that bill and the title got changed. See, this is why they do what they do, because this is the only way to pass anything with the current system, the way the rules are in place. I keep talking about the Plocher rules. Dean Plocher is the Speaker of the House. H.R. 11 was the bill to set up the brand new House rules when Plocher stepped into the role of Speaker. And it was a draconian, absolutely draconian bill that took away a lot of power from individual reps and took all that power and concentrated it on the speakership and a little tiny bit for the floor leader, taking away all the powers from reps, and they voted for it. Now, yes, it was watered down. It wasn't quite as totalitarian in the end, but the fact of the matter is this shouldn't be happening. And House members need to speak up against it, because literally when you have that much power concentrated into four hands, in this case in the House, it's the Speaker, the floor leader, and then in the Senate, Senate pro tem and floor leader. Those four people control all legislation, the flow of it, whether or not it can go into committee, whether or not it can, get onto a calendar, whether or not it can get on from the calendar to the floor, is controlled by those four people. It has nothing to do with your rep anymore. Yes, they can submit bills, but they're, basically at the mercy of the whims of the people, the four people, whether they're in the Senate or the House, two people, that actually move the bills. This is part of the problem. So the situation is ripe because of all of this for literally Christmas tree bills, omnibus bills, bills that have tons of pork, tons of special interests, actually laden inside of these. We had two of them go through in 2023, SB 70 and SB 157, which have brought on Missouri a medical tyranny that we're going to have to deal with. I'd like this up in my email. This is basically, it's a Rumble video, and it was actually done by the Hagman Report. In the Hagman Report video, a guy actually gets up and talks about these bills and talks about how Missouri has given up its right to medical licensure from the state of Missouri to an unelected board of officials in the federal government. So basically, if for some reason the federal government is unhappy with a doctor in Missouri that says, hey, might not be a good idea to get that jab, or says something like, hey, I don't think it's a good idea for you to get the booster. Suddenly, their license is revoked. And that's done through the federal government. The state has nothing to do with it anymore. That's the kind of stuff we're looking at right now, medical tyranny. And this is very real. Mm-hmm. This is not an illusion, folks. SB 70 and SB 157 both passed in 2023. You guys can look those up. I did put them out in the email. If you're on the email list, you had access to that. But I want to remind people that if we didn't have the current system, if people would actually stick to the Missouri Constitution, and we do need to go into that, Article 1, Section 21, and Section 23 of the Missouri Constitution actually covers how the titling works on bills. And the problem is 99% of the people in the General Assembly generally don't follow it. They do when they first start the bill. The title is probably appropriate and proper, but it doesn't take long before the title gets changed and an amendment gets put on. And then the title gets changed again, and then 4 amendments get put on. And the title gets changed a third time, and all of a sudden 15, 20 amendments get stuck on. And you guys have to know what I mean by amendments. This is important to know what an amendment is. It's not 1 or 2 word changes. No. You might think that, from watching stuff in D.C., but these amendments are entirely different bills that didn't even get through committee in most cases. They never even got passed through a committee, and they're being stuck on literally with absolutely no vetting process, no committee vetting process, because they didn't even look at it. They didn't even look at the bill in committee. This is dangerous stuff, gang. And this is what we're doing in Missouri. And the leadership has taken us here. So, this is the kind of stuff that we look at, Dean Plocher, and we look at Caleb Rowden, and people before them, so let's not lay blame, strictly with them, are doing. Why? Because it benefits corporations. These are corporatist movements. They deal with corporatist bills, corporatist amendments. It's their priorities that get served by doing things this way. It is not us, the people of Missouri. Anyone who says the people of Missouri are being served well by Christmas tree bills and omnibus legislation are quite simply wrong. We are not served well by these. So, and I just went on to Rumble. Thank you for helping out Maya. Maya's saying no one's being ignored. Pat has only 1 screen currently. That is correct. I only have 1 screen. My other screen is not working tonight, and I didn't have time to look into it. So basically, I'll take a look here in just a little bit when someone else starts talking. I'll start reading this and I'll answer. Let's see. I have Mike Charlie 14. Is the silver used going to mine here in Missouri? We actually have a good sized silver veins running through the state, right through lead veins, or right by the lead veins. I don't know if we're going to mine in Missouri for silver. But, basically, if they're good sized veins, a business will pick up on that. If it's worthwhile financially, if the silver's the right price and they're not going to lose money by mining those veins, they will mine them. That's the way it works. The free market always wins in that situation. Let's see. Any word on Medicaid flights? I don't know anything about Medicaid flights. And Mike Charlie says, looks like those of us here on Rumble being ignored again. Once again, no ignoring, gang. I'm sorry. I'm having to work with 1 screen tonight, and that's unusual for me. I normally have 2, so I can keep Gilded and Prism on 1 screen and keep all the other stuff I'm doing on another screen, which I cannot do right now. Hello to Cheryl and JRM, who are both checking in on Odyssey. And I haven't even looked at the YouTube one here. Let me take a look at YouTube and see if something's coming up.
I tried pulling up YouTube and all that, but my internet's doing weird stuff tonight.
Okay.
So
let's see. Misty Atkinson says, if House members speak against it, they can lose their office and have their legislation not move. And that is absolutely correct. But at the same time, they're breaking their oaths, Misty. So, it's you're weighing one against the other all the time. Being an oath breaker, basically by participating in the nonsense, or, for instance, Mike Moon, of course, is blackballed because of the way he does things, which is much more inclined, with the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Missouri. So that's why he is somewhat blackballed. But he puts up very interesting legislation that gets completely ignored by leadership of the Senate. So Misty is absolutely right. It shouldn't be that way in Missouri. You shouldn't be blackballed if you're wanting to play by the actual rules, by the letter of the law. But this is the thing, and it really, really discourages me when I see Caleb Rowden getting up and reminding everyone how conservative he is. And he does this on a regular basis if he gets on Scott Fawn's show. If you guys have ever seen Caleb Rowden talk in a microphone, he's always talking about how conservative he is. He is one of the least conservative people we currently have in the Missouri legislature. He does have an R after his name, but you ought to look at his voting record. Instead of listening to him talk into a microphone, in fact, the old saying is, never listen to what people say, just watch what they do. And that's what you got to do with Caleb Rowden. Watch what he does. And the way he deals with legislation is he puts it in committees he know will kill the legislation for him. So, and so at any rate,
kind of like somebody else we know.
Sure. So that's the way. This is the House Rule, Bill number 11. Misty, I will go ahead and get you added on here.
Patrick?
Yes.
Someone by the name of Maria28 had asked a question earlier on YouTube, and they said, what do people think about a mandatory DNA test for all newborns in Missouri? Now, I don't think you had seen that.
Okay, no, I didn't.
Yeah, I had responded. I had said that at least it's my opinion that DNA testing being mandatory is concerning because I know that China does much of the testing, and I feel like if they have all of this DNA info and biological, information on people and countries that they don't have respect for, that they could create biological weapons against us and possibly harm us. So to me, that feels dangerous.
Yep.
That's just my opinion.
Yep.
I think I know why he's bringing that up too. I think I was just watching something just a few hours ago. I think Georgia is trying to pass a law because women throughout history, since this whole feminist movement, have been getting men to sign birth certificates. And when they sign the birth certificates, usually after they split up, the state goes after them without a DNA test. So Georgia's looking at making it as a mandatory DNA test to pretty much stay. Because obviously when a baby's born, a man's not going to be, I want a DNA test because obviously it's going to end a relationship for various reasons. The family's going to be there. It just makes that whole situation uncomfortable. So I'm actually 50-50 on watching what I watched earlier, but that's a good argument with that whole Chinese thing. But that's the whole reason I can see why he even brought that up.
That's not even this is part of the globalist agenda. They want to be able to use. They've been researching for a long time how to use DNA as effectively your record of who you are in terms of social credit systems.
I mean, even Ancestry.com and all of those sites that have all these amazing commercials trying to get everyone excited about searching for your ancestors, when they collect all that data, from my understanding and my research, it goes to communist China. So, that's just enlarging their database, which is very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
I also know people have been caught from past crimes from loved ones getting DNA tests with that ancestry stuff. I've heard crazy stories coming from all that.
Well,
they hand their data.
Go ahead.
I think that if the state is forcing that on people, it's a fundamental intrusion on your privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
That's a Fourth Amendment violation. Reality is most people just need to stop getting birth certificates, but hey, stop getting social security numbers, stop applying for any of them, stop filling out the forms. But
yeah. And I agree with that. And getting DNA samples from babies is nothing more than forming basically a database, a genetic database, a baseline profile, basically for genetics. And frankly, I can't right now. I'm not prepared to even think about all the things they could do based on my knowledge of science with that information. And it's really, we've talked about this before in the past, when we were covering Dean Plocher and what he was trying to do with the Fireside software in the state of Missouri. Information is the new currency for the high rollers in politics. That's it, folks. It's not dollars. It's information. It's more valuable. So that's what they want.
What?
Go ahead.
What kind of bill number? What bill number was that? Was that a current bill, or is that something that passed already? Last year, or what?
What are you talking about? The medical bills I'm talking about?
The DNA thing.
Okay, I don't know a bill number for the DNA thing. I know the medical licensure bills, SB 70 and SB 157, both passed in 2023.
Yeah, I didn't catch the bill number, but I could search the video. I was looking at it like 2 hours ago.
Okay,
And,
gotcha.
I also was going to say there is an episode on China Uncensored by Chris Chappell not too long ago. He was covering how the Chinese Communist Party actually has a lot of women DNA that have already given birth. And also just going to regular OBGYN checkups. Chinese Communist Party has already accumulated a lot of American women's DNA that way. So American women are aware of that.
Yep. Well, be that as it may, I don't know if we need to look at a bill number like this. Something like that seems to me a perfect amendment to a Christmas tree or omnibus bill, where it gets stuck on after it didn't get through committee, never even got through committee to the point where it actually went into a rules committee or even got onto the calendar. These things are never vetted when they're thrown on, and they're thrown on the Christmas tree bill. They're never vetted. They go and they vote on this stuff literally sometimes 4 hours after they assemble this, this god-awful Christmas tree bill. And this has happened, in the Senate, in the House. It's happened both places. But the fact of the matter is there are a group of people trying to stop that process in Missouri right now. Leadership has said, no, we will continue it this way for at least another year. Because guess what? Mm-hmm. That leadership will be gone. They term out in 2024. When the elections in November happen, we will have, basically new leaders coming in. So, guys, we need to be mindful of this. We need to remind these folks up there that we're watching them very closely on all this stuff with titles as well, just as we saw with SB 100. Guys, there are better examples, but SB 100 is the freshest example of how bills and the title changes can negatively affect the bills to become not just a popular, very popular grassroots bill, but somehow become a feces magnet for bills that can't even get through committee. As soon as the title changes, boom. It's just all bets are off. It's off to the races. Let's see how many things we can stick on this populist bill. They tried to do it with SEPA, but SEPA had an incorporated subtitle for the sole purpose of. Now, if you look at Senator Eigel's bill, if you look at Representative Hardwick's bill, both of them say that, for the sole purpose of. So basically changing that title is going to be difficult. So that gives an extra layer of protection. So both of them were thinking, forward on this. They saw what happened to it last year. They did not want that to happen again. So congratulations to both of those men for incorporating a subtitle for the sole purpose of. It was wise. I think that was a good move on their part. Okay, so actually I think while everyone is still here, and I'm actually going to be looking through real quick.
I'm actually looking through this, and it seems like last year Missouri tried to get a similar bill passed. It was called SB 14.
That doesn't surprise me.
And it looked like it went nowhere with it.
Yep.
And I found that episode, by the way. I shared it and gilded if that person wanted to come and look that over. The video I was watching earlier. But yeah, I don't see any move on anything this year in Missouri on that. But I'll look around.
Okay. Sarah something wanted to say, why is nobody talking about the thigh place in KCMO and Anthony Castandenda, who was getting Molly shipped to U.S. from China? I don't know anything about that. We deal with legislature generally. So we deal with actually legislation and legislators in our so we generally don't deal with the drug trafficking We don't talk about that a whole lot, although we have in the past when SEPA applied. But at any rate, we're a group that actually doesn't have any funding, and by design, so we don't have unlimited resources to look into multiple things. We just try to make sure that bad legislation doesn't get passed, and we're trying to get good stuff passed at the same time, Sarah. So that's what our group does here in the state of Missouri, and it's kind of a unique group in that way, because we have an enormous amount of people in the Missouri Freedom Initiative, but there's no sign up, there's no official membership. Everyone is just a citizen, just like I am, just like you are. A resident of Missouri that actually cares about what's going on in the state, and we're starting to take responsibility for our freedom. That's right. That's, if you want to put, a tagline on the Missouri Freedom Initiative, that should be it. We're taking responsibility for our freedom. And we got to literally watch these politicians and watch them like hawks, because they're constantly, and not all of them, by the way, I don't want you to give the impression all of them do this, but enough of them do this that it's a serious problem. And when you have Senator Eigel putting up bills to try and keep the legislative process constitutional, being voted down in the Senate, that should get some attention. People should know, but you would have to know that the single title rule is in the Missouri Constitution, and we're going to get that out in a little bit here. Like I said, I don't have two screens, so it's very difficult for me to do stuff tonight, unfortunately. But bringing up the Missouri Constitution, Article 1, Sections 21 and 23, will actually talk about a single title for all bills that go through the legislature. This is the way it's intended to be. They're supposed to be dealing with a single subject. That's it. Like, for instance, silver and gold. Someone might say, well, that's two subjects. Well, technically, that would be correct. But silver and gold are money, which is one subject. So,
by the way, that was the state of Tennessee looking into that, and they tried to do something similar last year. I don't see no further action this year, but they could be trying.
Okay, I have not looked into that. You still looking into the DNA bill?
Yeah, I was just letting that one person know.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yep. So the Missouri Constitution is very clear about how bills are to be handled. One subject, dealing with one issue, one item. And so that's by design. So you don't have Christmas tree bills. When you have people like Dean Plocher put up rules that you can't get Senate bills into the House until after spring break, that leaves very, very little time, based on the procedures set up by the rules of the House, to get those to the floor to be debated and perfected, and possibly go back to the Senate again because there's been a change. This is by design. This is why they do Christmas tree bills. This is why they do omnibus bills, so they can get crap put in with the good stuff. So they can get corporatist stuff put in with the good stuff. So they can get tyranny mixed in with freedom in the same, and no one has time to read all of them or digest all of them or call their representatives and senators and say, vote no to this omnibus bill that has 32 bills attached to it. Say no to this. They don't even know what's in it. They don't have time to look it up. Generally, senators and House members, when they're doing the omnibus stuff at the end of the year, have anywhere from 4 to 16 hours to read it all before they vote on it. And that's literally something that they have done by design. So they will tell you they don't have enough time to go through all the bills. So make a rule then that everyone can only submit 2 bills a year. In that way, we're only dealing with 400 bills a year as opposed to 3,000 bills a year. So make it easier. But they don't do that. They don't do that either. Dean Plocher even tried to put a limit on how many bills someone could co-sponsor in the House. That was originally an H.R. 11. I believe that got stripped away, but he wanted it down to 4. You can only co-sponsor 4 bills. So, Dean Plocher was just
just pathetic.
Yep. And of course, Jonathan Patterson claimed ownership for that bill, H.R. 11. I don't think he wrote it at all. I think Dean Plocher, or probably a friend of Dean Plocher's, actually wrote it. That's my opinion. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, before we go into MOCON 101, the Missouri Constitution, let's see what we can do to, first of all, I need to get my camera back up. And then I need to put Doug and Maya on hold for just a moment. And I am going to call up, and I need to bring up a browser for that because I need to get the telephone number for my rep, which is Bob Titus. And let's make a phone call. Let's ask him to start pushing to get this thing, HB 1955, put into committee. Bless you. Okay, so let's see. Just scroll all the way to the bottom for Titus. And sorry, gang, I can't show you this easily or quickly. So you'll just have to watch the camera here. And Doug and Maya, I'm putting you guys on hold. I'll be back. Okay, they are on hold. And I am going to phone numbers. Okay, Bob Titus's number, 573-751-3833. My rep, Bob Titus.
You have reached the office of Representative Bob Titus for the 139th District. We are sorry we missed your call. Please leave a detailed message and we will return your call as soon as possible. Thank you. You may start your message now.
Hey there, Representative Titus. This is Patrick Holland with the Missouri Freedom Initiative. I want to thank you once again. I saw you on Wednesday and was able to shake your hand and thank you for co-sponsoring HB 1955, the Constitutional Money Act. But I need another favor from you, buddy. I need you to actually go talk to Dean Plocher and ask for him to actually put this in committee. Now, it's not the committee I'd asked for before. Because of the issues with Dean Plocher and with Doug, I'm asking now for HB 1955 to go into government efficiency and downsizing, that committee. That'd probably be the best place for it. But I think we need to move it into that committee, and any other silver and gold bills should also probably go into that committee as well. But I would very much like if you could do this next week. And if you would, please give me a call back or give me an email and let me know how your interaction went with the House Speaker on that and see what his feeling was about gold and silver, about assigning a committee for the bill. I would very much appreciate that. That kind of intel is very important to me. So thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing from you soon, Representative Titus. God bless you, sir. Okay, so that is an example of a phone call to a rep, and I just left him a voicemail. So I encourage everyone to do something similar. Call up your reps, even if they've already co-sponsored. If they've not co-sponsored, you got another reason to call them. It's time to get them to go co-sponsor. And actually, it's gotten to the point now where I'm going to ask people, and I've gotten one already from Voodoo. If you guys have a representative who has not co-sponsored on HB 1955 and you have contacted them to do so, please email me with that information, and then I will call up that representative and see what I can do. So, but at any rate, I'm offering that service to any of you. If you have called your rep and emailed your rep and they're not getting back to you, or if they literally are not co-sponsoring, please get a hold of me by email, patrick@mofree.org, and let me know. And I'll see what I can do on my end here. Once again, we're, just a group of concerned citizens. And if your representative or your senator, in this case representative, is not getting back to you on such a simple, easy request, there's obviously some politics behind it. And we're not about that. We're about just getting good constitutional legislation passed. So we need to remind them that we're not interested in their politics. And if politics to them is more important than constitutional legislation, we need to know that, because we're creating scorecards for the 2024 election. So we need to know that in advance as well for the Missouri Freedom Initiative, and that's something that I'll be very happy to share with representatives.
Mine was on the Senate side.
That's right, Rusty Black. That's right. Yep, that's right. Rusty Black did vote yes for gold and silver in 2023, by the way. So I think he will be, voting yes on that bill again. And of course, co-sponsorships are very, very difficult to come by. Basically in the Senate. And they're very different rules, very different reasons, stuff like that. In the House, it's much more common. The House is closer to us, the people, than the Senate is. So, basically, they're more responsive to the people, generally, the House members. And they also have fewer constituents than a senator does. A senator's district is four
what's
times.
the likelihood of getting Senator Ben Brown to sponsor that, you think?
I don't think it's necessary. Actually, there's two versions of it in the Senate. We have Senator Eigels, the Constitutional Money Act, and then we have Senator Bratton's version, which is actually Eigels' bill from last year, when it was perfected in the Senate. So we already have two bills in there. Eigels is the way to go for right now, for sure. And of course, with that's the Senate side. On the House side, hands down, it is definitely Bill Hardwick's bill. So that's the one, we definitely want to be continuing to encourage people to co-sponsor. Guys, it's up to us. No one else is going to do this. It's really, truly up to us if we want to see this happen. But I'll tell you what, though, I have noticed a lot of folks, spending more time with the federal circus than they are the Missouri circus. And I just want to remind folks that the federal circus doesn't really affect you. The state circus does. It affects you in actually a much, much deeper way than the federal circus ever will. With one possible exception, and that's having to do with illegal aliens. So, at any rate, I'm just asking everybody who's watching this, if you're in Missouri, please make sure to get, and I did put out in the email, if you're not on the email list, please get on the email list. I really can't tell you how important that is during the legislative session. It is absolutely critical, actually, if you want to be active during the legislative session, to be on the email list. Because we just can't pump out enough videos enough of the time the way we were doing with SEPA. Because I got to work. I can't just stay here full time and do this. Because I got to put food on my table just like everyone else does. So it's easier for me to reach everyone with half an hour, put into an email than it is to create videos, to put stuff out for stuff that needs to be done quickly. So we're just talking about efficiency here, and that's it. So that's why we want people on the email list if they want to be involved in the state of Missouri. And that email list, of course, is kept private. It is not sold or given to anyone for any reason, no exceptions. Okay, let's see. So we've covered everything going on with title change. Now let's get to the SEPA news. And I promised everyone that. And let me get that on my phone real quick here. And I got a text from Aaron Dorr, Missouri Firearms Coalition, and I got one from Ron Calzone as well. Aaron Dorr's came with a screenshot. Let's see. Okay, we're talking about the United States versus the state of Missouri. Case number 23-1457. That's SEPA, the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Docket text. Set for argument. Case placed on calendar for argument in St. Louis on Friday, February 16th, 2024. To be heard before judges. Now, here we go. Here's the panel. Judges James B. Loken, Stephen B. Colaughton, and Jane Kelly in Division 1. The courtroom deputy will be Jeanette McKee. All attorneys representing oral argument must complete a response form. So basically that's where we're at now, gang. SEPA is actually going to be heard in the 8th Circuit, February 16th. So we'll definitely keep you guys apprised of that. There's a lot of us watching that. Ron Calzone and Aaron Dorr are much better suited than we are to deal with the court system. We deal with the legislative system. They do too, but they're also better off at, than we are for dealing with courts and, setting up amicus briefs and going in as witnesses and as expert witnesses. So, guys, I won't even begin to speculate what I think is going to happen in that court, but I do think there is a strong possibility we'll probably end up going to the Supreme Court at some point in time on this legislation. So if anyone has been watching in Ohio, can anyone tell me how SEPA is doing in Ohio? It's going through the legislative process, and it's a virtual copy of ours, by the way.
I don't think it's gone anywhere at this point.
Okay.
I think it got held up.
That could
deferred.
be another symptom of another state that's too afraid to do anything until they find out how this is treated by the federal courts. This is exactly where Iowa is too, by the way. Iowa had a very nice SEPA bill. It just died right on the vine. It just didn't get pushed forward because that's when, basically the news was coming out that we had several lawsuits against the state of Missouri on SEPA. So, which is a shame. These other states need to come forward and actually have I was about to say the B word, have the guts to go forward and do what the state of Missouri did. And by the way, it shouldn't even take any guts at all. It's the 10th Amendment. It's all based on the Constitution and the 10th Amendment. And so really it doesn't take guts. It just takes knowledge of literally the U.S. Constitution and knowledge of the 10th Amendment and precedents set by the 10th Amendment for the last 200 years. That's all it really takes. It doesn't take guts, actually. It just takes knowledge. It takes time to learn it all. And once you actually take that step and you learn about all precedents set in the last 200 years with the 10th Amendment, you'll find out that you're on extremely solid ground when you actually apply Missouri's special version of SEPA.
Yeah, it also takes both an attorney general as well as an executive branch of a state to push and enforce that. If you're talking about the side of firing law enforcement personnel or discontinuing their employment in some fashion and ordering them to pay the fines regardless of the court's opinions.
Yep. So there is a question on Rumble. Who appointed these judges? And I do believe most of them are Obama appointees, by the way. Not necessarily.
Currently, right now in Ohio, 8 out of 10 Republican senators are blocking SEPA from going through in the Senate over there.
Okay, so the Republicans are blocking SEPA.
Yeah.
Okay, they got a rhino or, unfortunately, a squishy problem out there, it sounds like. Let's see. I was going to read something here. And who put it? I think it was Misty. Gosh darn it, where did I see that? Was that on YouTube? No, actually, this was Wilderness Gal. More Missourians need to harness their negative energy and direct it for positive results towards our state capital and reps to improve our state via deregulation and removing these out of control taxes. That is 100% exactly right, Wilderness Gal.
Hey, did you ever take Doug and Maya off of hold?
I do believe I did. Doug and Maya, are you guys there?
Yes, we're here.
Yep.
We're here.
Yep, they're sure
Okay,
here.
I wanted to make sure because you're juggling stuff on your end. I just want to make sure.
I did want to tell you one thing, Patrick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I married that woman for a reason.
Okay. And are you going to share that reason with us, or?
You read that reason.
Okay, no, I was teasing you. I was giving you a hard time. Yes.
And she can cook.
Yeah, and she can cook. Well, that matters too, man. Way to a man's heart is through his stomach, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So, but Maya, that's a beautifully written little tiny paragraph following all the, the limitations, that you have on YouTube for putting in a comment.
I go crazy with that. It always cuts me short, and then I try to cram everything together, but that's the best I could do, I guess.
Yep. Well, that's it. I mean, you can sit there and be mad, right, Maya? You can be in an echo chamber and sit there and be mad and want everyone to be mad with you, want everyone to be angry with you, or you can actually do something about it in your state.
I've seen too many people get angry and hostile and have so much negative energy that they become sick, or, just bad things happen in your life. It's kind of like a giant snowball going downhill. It goes from bad to worse. So if you don't correct it and try to harness that and turn it into something positive, don't expect any positive results.
Yep, I agree. And expecting positive results from Jefferson City is become somewhat of a spectator sport, for organizations like ours, because the rules are set against doing things constitutionally and proper. Now, as I promised, this is MOCON 101, so let me bring up the Missouri Constitution. And in the Missouri Constitution, we're going to be looking up, oh dear God, Missouri Constitution.
Speaking of, I forgot to get a copy of that again.
Let's see.
The more of us up there, though, with our eyeballs looking around, paying attention, going in and out of the offices, it's just going to slow down the evil.
Yep, that's right. Because
that's how I see it.
Yeah, and Misty actually said this earlier, is, basically the more grassroots go up there, the less of an influence the lobbyists have. And that's essentially correct. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. I mean, people are going to visit politicians. Is it going to be you, or is it going to be someone with an envelope full of cash or an envelope full of favors, for your rep to do something against your interests? And, this is why, even if you can't go up to Jefferson City and visit very often, I understand that's taking a day off of work. Guys, I feel that pain too. All of us do that go up to Jefferson City. It seems like very few of our group are really close. With one exception I can think of right now. I'm not sure I want to name him, but we have one guy that lives across the river. So he can be there in, 10 minutes. Me, it's nearly 3 hours to get there. And sometimes longer. Go ahead.
He lives across the river, and then he works like 2 blocks over.
Yep, that's right. So it's easy for him to get there. For those of us who can't get there quite as easily, phone calls and emails all the time, and make a trip occasionally. I mean, that's how you keep their attention. Remember now, it's very important that your representative and your senator know your name. But you're going to have to learn their name first. So you're going to have to reach out to them. You're going to have to talk to them. Talk to them about what bothers you in the state of Missouri. Talk to them about, the bills that you see going through that are offensive to you. Talk to them about legislation that you like, that you would like to see them, co-sponsor and get through. This is really, truly, a very, very active sport, politics in the state. I mean, it's really who is the most active. You know what? I'm going to remind everyone of something here because I'm having a hard time. Hey, Caleb, can you bring up Article 1, Sections 21 and 23? I don't have my Constitution book here, and I don't know where it is, but it's in my house somewhere. But it does talk about...
hang on.
Okay. And I'm looking at the Secretary of State's office, and I'm going to have to find a different way to do it.
Oh. That opened there, but... Come on.
So,
I wanted to open this.
The Article 1 and Section 21 and 23 talk about single title bills, single subject bills. That's what they do. So, and that's actually a critical part of how we actually get things done in the state of Missouri. If we have omnibus bills, we're going to get some really strange stuff going through. Really strange. very offensive, freedom-removing laws in Missouri quite easily just by ignoring our own Constitution. And by the way, if you think that I'm belaboring that fact, I'm doing it on purpose. There is absolutely no reason at all for the General Assembly to say there's not enough time to pass the amount of bills they feel they need to pass. Therefore, they need to do Christmas tree bills. That's their fault. That is not our problem. And by the way, for them to make it our problem is insane. They have plenty of time in 5 months to get a lot of stuff done up there. They just choose not to. And also keep in mind, there's a lot of politicking going on. You know, I'm sorry, I can't let your bill into committee unless you, tell me you're going to vote yes on this bill. You know, that kind of stuff is going on. Lobbyists coming up there saying, well, we've got reasons for you to push this forward, or we've got reasons for you to kill this. You know, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But if you simply go up there as a resident, not a lobbyist, a resident, not someone who's paid to go to the Capitol and represent someone's interest. That is not the Missouri Freedom Initiative. No one's paid. There is no money. We are simply residents going up there representing the Constitution of Missouri, the Constitution of the United States, and once again, uncovering corruption. I mean, we do that as part of our charter. So if anyone says, oh, if you guys would stop doing that, maybe you get more stuff done. Well, the fact is, the reason we can't get stuff done is because of corruption. So we're going to constantly go after corruption. We're not going to stop on that measure. Caleb, have you found it?
I just pulled it up. Okay, well, what was the number?
Article 1, Section 21, and then Section 23. Both of them deal with single title bill issues.
Yeah, give me a second here.
And if you want to put it on your screen, I'll enlarge your screen.
I don't know how well it's going to feed, though. That's
okay, just read it to us then. That's fine.
I can, what I can do here, let me, Article, what is it?
You there? We lost Caleb while he was trying to share his screen, no doubt. Okay, Caleb, don't share your screen then if that's going to kick you out.
Yeah, I didn't share my screen. I'm just trying to scroll through this, and it's not even putting my camera back up now. Can you hear me?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay, give me a second here. What sections?
Sections 21 and 23, and I am so sorry, man. I'm almost there myself now.
Section 21. Okay, let me grab this. Let's see here.
Section 21. Now, hang on.
Give me a second. There's
that's
21.
Not right. Section 21 is excessive bails and fines. Let's look at 23.
No, you're looking at probably section 2.
Oh, is that where I'm at? Okay.
You're looking at, yeah, you're the wrong section there, or wrong. Okay, I just dropped it in there as a photo.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Legislative proceedings. Section 21, style of laws, bills, limitation on amendments, power of each house to originate and amend bills, reading bills. The style of the laws of this state shall be, quote, be it enacted by the General Assembly of the state of Missouri as follows, end quote. No law shall be passed except by bill, and no bill shall be so amended in its passage through either the House as to change its original purpose. Bills may originate in either house and may be amended or rejected by the other. Every bill shall be read by title on 3 different days in each house. That's first reading, second reading, third reading. That's what you guys often see. But at any rate, that when you have a Christmas tree bill at the end of the year, this has been wholesale violation of the Constitution to have an omnibus bill. They literally take that title and molest it and reshape it and form it into something that fits, 25, 30, 40 pieces of legislation that are so bad they can't even get through committee. This is what happens in the state of Missouri. So for those of you who, and thank you very much for doing that, Caleb. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, when that
Section 23 there as well.
Okay, Section 23. Okay.
I dropped it in there.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Section 23. I'm going to read that now. Once again, the Missouri Constitution is where this is coming from. Limitation of scope of bills, contents of titles, exceptions. No bill shall contain more than one subject which shall be clearly expressed in its title, except bills enacted under third exception in Section 37 of this article and general appropriation bills, and that's financing the state, which may embrace the various subjects and accounts for which monies are appropriated. Okay, once again, limitation of scope of bills, contents, titles, and exceptions. And apparently the only exception is appropriations. So where spending is concerned. And that's it. So the stuff that we're getting through on a regular basis in the state of Missouri, with Christmas tree bills, yes, our appropriations bill is a Christmas tree bill. Yes, it is. But it's all spending, all of it. It's funding the government. So that was why it was left as an exception. That's not true for creating the laws. So everyone who participates in this omnibus Christmas tree nonsense is an oath breaker, believe it or not, even if they're a friend. Now, some of them can claim ignorance, but I don't think so, because Tom Martz with the Locke and Smith Foundation and Ron Calzone with Missouri First have been, Ron Calzone for 30 years, Tom Martz I think has been here for over 10, screaming at the top of their lungs to the General Assembly, it's unconstitutional to do this. You can't do this. And like I said earlier in the program, I talked to a representative in 2023 who said literally, judges don't care. They're not going to overturn laws because of, molestation of the title. Well, it just happened, Representative. And you know who you are if you ever watch us. And this guy's an attorney. He's an attorney and a representative, and he doesn't care, literally, that we're not following the Constitution of the state of Missouri, which should be troubling to people. That should be very troubling. That's not something that we should, be bragging about to other states, by the way. So, all right, I'm sorry. General discussion. I'm sorry, and I'm going to go and read some comments here. I know I've been a bit long-winded tonight.
Got my camera back.
Hey, camera back.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to say some more stuff, but the thing is, my connection's been squirrely tonight, and I don't know why.
Okay, Sarah something is saying, I was going to her original statement on, this is on the YouTube side, I was underage at the Thai place that I know of for a fact KCMO police knew of. She's talking about Molly shipments, and everyone knows what that means, I think.
So, yeah. Party drugs.
Yep. So, and by the way, during SEPA, we were finding, and we'll just talk about it openly. I know we're on YouTube, and they'll probably, go after us for this, but the heroin trade in Southeast Missouri, that's why Southeast Missouri government and law enforcement was so against SEPA, is because it was cutting down civil asset forfeiture on federal charge codes. And so, in the Molly trade, if you will, in Southeast Missouri is huge. And there's even some scuttlebutt that ATF trucks may have been used to move that Molly around once it landed in a plane from China in Southeast Missouri. So a lot of government officials in on the Molly trade. So so Sarah, I'm just saying that, that we knew of something similar, except in a different part of Missouri. But it doesn't surprise me that it's up in the Kansas City area too, because there's a lot of mafia up there.
It's funny because, which ironically enough, a lot of the mafia families aren't even involved in that anymore. It's other people and cartels.
Yep. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I know of 5 families that are in there, at least a couple of them used to be involved in that stuff, but they're not anymore. They've got away from that, a couple generations ago.
Yep.
And it's almost all cartels now. This is coming from someone who is very anti-drug war, but I find it quite hypocritical that oh yeah, let's more rules for me and not for thee.
Yep. Mike Charlie says, say goodbye to that lawsuit. The Fed will win. Mike Charlie, I'd be willing to bet you a shiny quarter that the state of Missouri will win this. Not necessarily in the Eighth Circuit, but they will win it in the Supreme Court. Because there's too many years of precedence. And Mike Charlie, you have to understand something about the 10th Amendment. If the Supreme Court throws out SEPA, they also have to throw out marijuana dispensaries. They have to throw out states legalizing marijuana, and they have to throw out states actually doing sanctuary cities for illegals, because it's all based on the same thing, anti-commandeering doctrine.
Actually, also over in Illinois right now, they're actually going around doing a petition to take Biden off the ballot, and that they're using the 10th Amendment to do so. And they actually have more validation than why they would actually ever want to take Trump off.
Well, it's the 14th Amendment they're using, actually. It's not the 10th. But at the same time, these men are not convicted.
Isn't it the 10th and 14th Amendment?
No, I think it's 14th. They're using, basic...
It is
Go ahead.
It would be the 14th Amendment.
That's what I think, too. But it's important for everyone to understand, and by the way, thank you for chiming in on that, John. The fact of the matter is, neither Trump nor Biden have been convicted of insurrection of any kind, or, being a traitor to the United States of any kind. There's been no conviction, no court of their peers. So there's absolutely no basis for taking either man off the ballot using that measure. Period. End of story. This is simply hyperbole, extremely high energy hyperbole going on right now, and it will not stand. I guarantee you everyone's going to get back on the ballot.
I was going to say, though, about when it comes to that whole SEPA situation, I don't know who this is that you were mentioning earlier that's talking about saying goodbye to the lawsuit and the feds are going to win. But yeah, it's not just sanctuary cities. It's not just what's the other one, marijuana, but also this goes back to states refusing to cooperate with the Fugitive Slave Act.
Right.
It goes back to Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton. Was it Hamilton, right? It was Hamilton, or no, just Madison, I think. Kentucky and Virginia resolutions of 1798, refusing to cooperate with the Alien and Sedition Acts of that year. This also, there was, regardless of prohibition being constitutional or not, there were states that refused to cooperate with it.
Yep.
The Real ID program, states aren't cooperating with it.
Yep.
I mean, it comes down to the point that at the end of the day, states are not duty bound in any way, shape, or form to cooperate with any act of the federal government. They do not have to participate. They do not have to play the games. They don't have to take the money. They don't have to give them resources of any kind, whether it be manpower or anything else. In fact, if you really want to get to it, if you want to shut down NSA data centers, they can deny the water supplies to their cooling, their cooling units.
Yeah, I understand that. In fact, there's, let's see, Maria 28 is asking, what lawsuit is this? Maria, we covered this pretty well at the beginning of the, well, not the beginning, but about 20, 25 minutes into the show. It has to do with the Missouri Second Amendment Preservation Act, which is actually being challenged by the United States government using the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution to say that the 10th Amendment does not apply. But in fact, it does, because the Second Amendment Preservation Act has nothing to do with violating anything pursuant to the Constitution. So the fact of the matter is, go ahead.
I would say another thing in there too is the fact that the ruling, or whatever, opinion ruling, whatever you want to call it, the whoever it was, and Judge Wimes in Kansas City that threw that under the bus, even admitted in the opinion that the state reserves the right to not cooperate with the federal action. The problem they had with it was that the state of Missouri merely had an opinion on the constitutionality for why they were doing it.
That's right.
So not only is it a First Amendment violation, or a 10th Amendment violation that ruling is, but also a First Amendment violation.
Yep.
That the state of Missouri and the people and the elected representatives reserve the right to an opinion on the constitutionality of these acts and act accordingly, which they admitted they can do.
Yep. Well, and the truth be told, the fact of the matter is, and those who were with us from the beginning with SEPA knew that it was expected for this to be overturned. It was expected. So it was actually written. And by the way, I'm not saying this, in a fit of hyperbole. It was actually written to withstand the judgment from the Missouri Supreme Court. It was written knowing that it would be going to the Supreme Court. And so, at any rate, the authors are not worried that wrote this. Mm-hmm. They're not worried, and they did think it would end up going to that level anyway, because if Missouri SEPA is allowed to stand, other states can now go forth and actually do SEPA in their states without the inconvenience of being the first to stand up and take the arrows like Missouri did. That's what happens if Missouri's SEPA gets through. And the Supreme Court knows this, but so does the federal government. So does Missouri. And so do the other states. They're waiting for us to take all the arrows from the federal government and deal with all the headaches of going through constant court and being sued by the DOJ, being sued by several of our own counties, including Jackson and St. Louis, over something that is a natural right. So it is what it is. So, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm thinking about closing it up here, gang. Is there something we haven't covered tonight that we need to be covering? Something that I've forgotten?
I wanted to bring up what's going on with Texas. Anybody else hear what's going on with the National Guard supposedly stopping Border Patrol from helping out the illegals, blocking them from that park? I forget the name of the park. But supposedly they're kicking the feds out and taking control of the immigration situation in the National Guard right now.
Oh, they already did. The Texas National Guard just stripped them. Yeah, the Texas National Guard just removed the Border Patrol from the area and took it over at gunpoint.
I find that fascinating.
Yep. And that is interesting. Voodoo, you had something you wanted to say about that?
No, I just said that was an Eagle Pass.
Yep, that's right. I'm thinking that should take over. If you guys remember back to the days of Obama, when the Minutemen in New Mexico and Arizona started guarding the borders because we had similar problems with Border Patrol just letting them through or looking the other way. And then Obama literally sent in military people to remove these militia off the border. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah, I think I actually recall hearing something about that. I'm also hearing too right now, Border Patrol agents have been supposedly got caught cutting holes in the fence for the National Guard out there right now.
I'm sure they have.
They're putting up,
Yeah. So that's. Go ahead.
Well, another thing too. Supposedly, the FBI within the last month entrapped an autistic kid into joining ISIS and arrested him over there in Saudi Arabia when they helped him get there to join ISIS.
Yeah,
I think the FBI should be dispolished after that.
Well, that to me, there's something else going on there that we're not fully aware of, because the wasting of the resources to take an autistic gentleman and then basically train him to get ready to be part of ISIS and then send him over there just to arrest him and bring him back and put him in prison doesn't even make sense to me. Go ahead.
I'll have to post a story in here, but yeah, I find it. I just find it to be a crazy story.
Yep, and essentially that's essentially what they did to Oswald, but they needed him to be a patsy, for the JFK assassination. So that's
I'm
why
gonna be
he was
blunt here.
sent. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be blunt here. What do you think half the school shootings are in Vegas?
Well, Vegas was proven there were 3 shooters, and that was a forensic and audio analysis by Mike Adams. The FBI subsequently raided his office and took all of his gear, as opposed to actually performing the same audio analysis themselves. And he was kicked off of YouTube about a week after he presented his data. He's a scientist, the Health Ranger, if you guys are familiar with him. And he actually conducted a forensic audio analysis from 11 cell phones that were recording live during the incident that happened in Las Vegas. And in fact, I need to stop talking about that now, because that's something that's grounds for termination from YouTube when you talk about that kind of stuff. But you guys just look up Mike Adams on BitChute or on Rumble and go back to, I think that was 2017 maybe. And the audio analysis he did was very, very, very well done. And it proved 3 shooters from 3 locations.
Yeah, no surprise there. But we all know, what they do.
I just posted a link to that video, by the way. The FBI agents groomed autistic 16-year-old join ISIS. It was a story by The Hill.
Okay, gotcha.
It's funny. The feds like to groom a lot of people and a lot of minors for a lot of different reasons.
They do. Okay, gang. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to wrap this up. First things first, everyone, be mindful here of this cold weather. I don't need to be like the Minneapolis, news every time I go up to Minnesota, where they tell you, "Oh, be sure to dress warmly." I just hate it when they do that. They treat everyone like children up there. But then again, it is a blue state. I guess in their minds, many of them are actually children. But the fact of the matter is, this weather is dangerous. So when it gets, this cold, and it's not necessarily what we're seeing in Missouri, what we're seeing in states like Minnesota, North Dakota, and Montana are downright dangerous. Animals die in this kind of weather, that sort of thing. So just remember your pet outside, their water's going to freeze over. They're going to freeze over. Everything's going to freeze over. So be sure to look after your pets and make sure that they have enough warmth and liquid water to survive. And this shouldn't last too long. This snap is a couple of days, is my understanding, before it starts warming up again. But and I was joking at the beginning of this podcast about everyone taking down their man-made global warming decorations so they can put up their man-made climate change decorations. And that's the switch from summer to winter. But the fact of the matter is, we are getting record-breaking lows, and that goes against their narrative. So, and, I want people to remember that on this whole man-made global warming thing. Yes, we do have some pretty violent swings in weather sometimes, but I think that's been happening for a long time. And I think that them asking for taxes in order to stop it is ridiculous. And I just wanted to make fun of that at the beginning of the show. That's the reason I brought it up.
Well, if you remember back in the 70s, the late 70s, it was global cooling.
Yep.
So, I mean, they are idiots.
Yep.
Oh, we're going to have some major changes and some even bigger swings, but it's not from man-made. It's not from our, putting some plant food in the air.
Yep.
No, it's grand solar minimums and maximums.
Oh, it's not just that either. It's what's coming as a result of our sun and our magnetic field. But that's another topic.
Yep.
It's all attributed to cow farts.
That's right. It's all cow farts. Dang those cows. But I want to thank everyone who joined the panel tonight. That's Voodoo Queen, Ancient Tom, and of course we had Shane in Wisconsin joining in. He didn't say anything tonight, but thank you for joining us, Shane. We had Joe Mama, Rusty Shackelford, also known as Hunter the Parmesan cheese expert, who joined us this evening. Often goes by the name of John. And then also our good old friend, Liberty Revolutionary, also known as Caleb. But I'd also like to thank everyone in YouTube land and in Rumble. a lot of you guys chiming in, and I'm sorry for the lack of the ability to properly read everything tonight. And once again, when you're down to a single monitor, it's really, really tough to actually do this. But the comments and everything are really, really good. Misty Atkinson put a lot of stuff up as well. Let's see. The Shield Maidens of Missouri have released a second video. It's pretty good. You can find it on their Substack or the Facebook page. And Misty, feel free to link up the Shield Maidens Substack right here on the YouTube chat. Please feel free to do so. You can actually do that. And Jill Carter's Real Education Freedom Bill is being heard in the Senate Education Committee on Wednesday at 1 p.m. This would give the schools opportunity to escape DESE's tyranny. DESE, it all stands for the same thing, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So I think I need to take a look at that bill, but actually that's something I'm remiss in putting in my newsletter. But that's a really, really, really important thing for the public schools to get away from DESE and the Missouri School Board Association. Those two are a real problem. And then after that, we may have to deal with teachers' unions. Not teachers, folks. Whenever people, hear me say that, they go, oh, you hate the teachers. You hate teachers. Love teachers. Absolutely love teachers. I have nothing against teachers. But I do have something about the union, the teachers' union. And that we're not going to get into tonight. But individual
public service
teachers,
unions in general.
Unions in general, but the teachers' unions who will stop any type of let's just say, when we were trying to get rid of sales tax on food in the state of Missouri, the teachers' union, it was one of those ones that spoke out against it, saying, nope, they need the money. Schools need the money. And we're just talking about 1%, or 1 penny on every dollar of food in the state of Missouri goes to the schools. And so at any rate, they were going to lose that if we got rid of sales tax on food, which is an immoral tax. Immoral, not amoral, immoral. It's wrong. We shouldn't tax food. You shouldn't have to give up a lump of flesh to the government every time you need to eat a meal in order to survive. So the government shouldn't be involved in the taxation of food. Government shouldn't be involved in much having to do with food at all, actually. But at any rate, I will leave that there. And Misty, thank you for bringing that up again. It's very important that we understand that there are some things happening in our General Assembly right now that actually would benefit the people. And it would benefit the people to get the public schools out of DESE, or the Department of Secondary and Secondary Education. This is a problem, guys. We have talked about this quite a bit on the show, and Retha will be talking about it tomorrow night on Sam's show. So please tune in for that. Once again, Missouri Liberty Radio is molibertyradio.us, right down in the description section. He's one of our partners. His name is Sam Britton, and he runs a show called Off the Cuff. He actually owns and produces that show, as well as the station. And please do chime in. Thank you for that link, Misty. But please do listen in and chime in. That is a call-in show. So everyone's welcome to call in on Sam's show. So if you guys have questions for Andrew Koenig, he's a senator that's actually running for treasurer, or for Retha having to do with the big meeting that went down in Swiss, Missouri, having to do with 2 school districts and their financial shenanigans, which Retha actually proved to the people of both towns on Wednesday night. This was right after our visit to the Capitol. So, but at any rate, that's about all that's going on. I want to thank everyone for joining us again. Please get on the email list. If you are not on our email list, please go to our website, mofree.org. And on the right-hand side, scroll down just a little bit and then take the time just to get on the email list if you want to be involved in what we're doing having to do with legislation in the state of Missouri. Because sometimes things come in hard and fast. Like, for instance, it was Monday when I got the call that Senator Eigel's SB 735 was going into committee. And so I heard that Monday, and the committee hearing was on Wednesday. I mean, that's how quick it happens, gang. And the House is generally about 3 to 5 days notice. We had 2 days notice for the Senate. Not enough to get anything done, but we did switch our day from Tuesday to Wednesday because of weather. And then I even canceled the knock and shock on Wednesday because no one was going to be there at the Capitol. Hardly anyone's going to be there. But at any rate, thank you again for watching. I love each and every one of you, and the fact that you guys love the state of Missouri and are helping the state of Missouri make this all worthwhile, guys. This takes a lot of my time and energy to actually to do this kind of stuff. But like I said, you guys are the ones that fuel me. Thank you very much for everything that you do to help make sure that in Missouri's government acknowledges our natural rights, that we are as free as humanly possible, in that we can actually start shrinking government in the state of Missouri and getting rid of some of our taxes. So gold and silver is where it's at, and that's what we're promoting heavily right now. But next week, we're going to start talking about the other bills we've selected to support within the Missouri Freedom Initiative. So until next week, next Saturday, you guys stay warm, take care, and may God bless each and every one of you. Take care, gang.